Ever wish you had someone to talk to anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're going through? Meet PsychPal, your 24/7 AI companion designed to help you process your thoughts, calm your mind, and keep you moving forward. Chat anytime during a panic attack, on a restless night, or just when you need to vent. Prefer talking instead of typing? Try voice journaling. PsychPal listens, transcribes, and truly understands. You can even upload screenshots of tough conversations and it'll help you unpack how they made you feel. PsychPal keeps life organized too. It can add appointments to your calendar, track your mood, and even summarize your sessions for your therapist so you'll never lose progress. Plus, built in crisis resources are always just one click away. It's a privacy first, constantly evolving, made to complement your professional care, not replace it. Ready to try it out? Head over to the link in this episode and use my code Pete at checkout to get 20% off your first month subscription to PsychPal. PsychPal, because your mind deserves a companion too. There we go. I think that's the one I like. We got it. We got it. Boom.
What do I do when life's so meaningless? What do I do when I just ain't feeling this? Anyone feeling this? Anyone feeling this? What do I do when life's so meaningless? What do I do when I just ain't feeling this? Anyone feeling this? Anyone feeling this? Meaningless, meaningless, meaningless. Desires not to exist.
Welcome to another exciting episode of People Society. Before we get started today, let's give a shout out to my partners over at PsychPal, guys. Check the link in the bio. Go check them out. 7-day free trial. If you like what you see, use my code Pete at checkout for 20% off for your first month because I'm such a nice guy. With that being said, let's introduce my guest today. He is the lead singer, guitarist, and the producer of The Quarantine. The one, the only, the legendary Sean Martin is here. Sean, thank you so much for being here, man. I was so excited when you came across as a guest.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've been looking forward to this podcast too.
Hell yeah, man. So Sean, why don't you tell everybody a little more about yourself? I know you have an interesting story, so let's get into it, man.
Sure. As you said, I'm the executive producer, guitarist, and vocalist. And for The Quarantined, we're a grunge punk and metal band. Right now, we're based out of Nashville. Right now, we've just released an album called Aversion to Normalcy, which we recorded at Blackbird Studios with a guy named Nathan Yarborough, who has probably worked on some of the bands you may have heard of, Evanescence or Korn or
Oh my God, yes.
Hailstorm.
Korn for sure, man. As you said Korn, I'm like, yes, Sean, I know Korn for sure, man.
Yeah, most of the people who are at least a little bit weird know these bands.
Yeah.
So he's worked with a lot of my heroes, and to get into and Alice in Chains as well.
Nice.
Because we talked a lot of, and there was a lot of correlation between the kinds of studio techniques that Alice in Chains is using and the stuff that we were using. So I was very nerded out and being like, oh my God, like this is the stuff that Cantrell and them were using. He's like, yeah, dude, yeah. And I'm like, well, all right. So there's a lot of like little fanboy stuff that was definitely going on in the studio that I had to try and hold back,
Right. Definitely.
Because we're still working, we're still doing something, so
Okay.
I can't be all, chuckle house about it. I gotta, try to stay focused. But anyway, I digress. So before I had gone to Musicians Institute in 2012. Prior to that, I was in the Airborne Infantry in Iraq in 2006. And I'd been doing music. I guess we'll just go backwards in the timeline just for fun. And I started playing guitar when I was 12, and I did an opera when I was 7, and I've been in community choir since I was 4. So I've been doing music for a really, really long time.
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely, man. I love the sound though, the band, man. I've been listening to your stuff all morning. I was like, oh yeah. I'm like, when I saw you on the schedule, I was like, oh hell yeah. I'm like, I remember this is now because I remember the email came in. Somebody had reached out to me about you being on the show, and I was like, I love musicians for that one reason, just because music has been a big thing as well, man. We've had some other musicians on the show throughout the other seasons of it, So as soon as your name came across, I was like, hell yeah, let me go check him out. It's like, oh yeah, definitely, yeah, hell yeah, for sure. And I love getting musicians' perception because like music is such a big thing for people, especially with us with mental health. It describes the way a lot of us feel. And there'll be a question coming up later on that I'll ask you that has to do music related though, Sean. So I'll be interested in your opinion on it. But with you, just music's always been a big thing for you, though. Obviously, man. So, like, when you started this project, what was your inspiration? I know what I know a little bit about is a lot of your PTSD and all that kind of stuff. Way to express yourself, man, which I think is really great, honestly.
Thank you. Yeah. Um, yeah. So this band started because, generally speaking, I didn't know what the hell was even happening to me.
Oh,
And
okay.
I figured, so it was kind of like a two-pronged sort of problem. I had been just, going through Musicians Institute. I had been with a whole bunch of different bands, all of which had like imploded
Yeah.
just because of band dynamics. And so I thought, I'm gonna write some songs myself. And when I sat down to write some songs myself, I sat right and confronted with all of the shit that I didn't want to confront.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, this seems like a good subject matter, if anywhere, if I'm going to start, might as well talk about the things that make me pissed off, the things that make me, why I don't understand the world,
Yeah.
why none of this seemingly makes any sense. At least that's where it started from trying to address and give a place to the confusion, the rage, the anger, the lonesomeness, the morose stuff, the sort of the dire consequences that result from from hard questions that have non-direct answers. These are the complexities of life that I want
Yeah.
to represent in life. That I want to. These are things in life that I want to represent in music.
Yeah, definitely. No, man, it's just awesome though. It's great to get musicians on here because it's so interesting to hear the stories behind the songs and things like that too. And it's great because me and another guy from Minnesota, he was using music as therapy for other people too. He had made this song with this 12-year-old girl named Delilah that she unfortunately took her life 12 hours later. The story was that Sean he had sat there and talked. Joseph had talked to this girl, and he knew that something was wrong with her. So he gave her music as an outlet. So when I seen that the person that reached out on your behalf had said the same thing, I was like, I love it because I think it's great. Mental health and music go hand in hand. I've had other bands on here such as Lives Lost. Ivan Stone has been on here. What is I've had Pretty Suspect has been on here. We had the lead singer of Haunter come on, and we found out she dealt with mental health issues too. Lucy is actually a good friend of the show. She's plans on coming back when she's in a better state of mind. But we found out more about her. So it was so interesting to hear, that, when music and mental health started coming up a lot, I was like, I have mental health issues. Music's the best way to describe it for people, and I listen to everything. Like I'll listen to everything possible. Punk hit real hard with me because I like, Anti-Flag, Smoker Fire. The Sex Pistols were the early on ones. The Ramones were probably my first introduction to punk itself because my stepmom was a big, like, alternative. She listened to a lot of other stuff outside of the box and normal things. Like my mom listened to Billy Joel versus my stepmom who listens to the Ramones and all these other things. It's like my first taste of punk was that. Then I dived in that a lot a bit. Then I went to alternative. Alice in Chains was a big one for me as well. And things like that. Kiss was big for me. Then I progressed to Corn. And then I found out my mom had said when I was in high school, my stepmom came in the room, saw the poster, and goes, "Hey, I know those guys." I'm like, "What guys are we talking about exactly?" She said, "Oh, those guys on the wall right there." I'm like, "You met them?" She goes, "Yeah, me and your sister broke down in Kansas. Their tour bus came by and stopped and they got off the bus and they helped us." I'm like, I'm dying on the floor. I'm like, "What? Hold on. What? Wait a minute. What? What is going on here? Hold on." She's like, "Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, man. They're real nice guys, too." I'm like, "Wait, this is a joke, right?" She was serious, too, Sean. She was like, "Yeah, oh, yeah." I'm like, "Huh?" And I love Corn. Corn's been a big one for me. I like Marilyn Manson. I listen to everything, honestly, man. I don't really worry too much when people think what I listen to. I listen to everything. Like, if it's a good tune, it sounds good, I'll listen to it. Country music is not as big for me, but I'm more the rock, the metal guy, the punk guy. I listen to all that kind of stuff. Let Me Bleed has been one of the newer bands I've been checking out. Your band has been one of the ones I've been listening to lately as well. Because, like I said, I started checking your stuff out and really liked it. And I've been telling people about it. Like, "Hey, man, you got to check this band out." So I'm the guy always sharing music with other people. I'm like, "Yo, I got to try this out, man. Check it out," and things like that. So it's cool when you get like I said, the musician aspect of things. So like. What was the inspiration behind most of your songs? Is it like a lot of your journey itself through your mental health issues?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was that. It's also a recognition of society.
Hmm.
I'm kind of like to take the Scooby Doo approach to things when I approach the unknown. I want to trap them down, tie them down, and then unmask them and be like, who the hell are you?
Right.
What are you doing here? Why?
Yeah.
You know? So that's the things that I like to do with my fears, and that's how I like to treat those kinds of things. So I like to write songs about that process in discovering it and uncovering about the people in your life. Sometimes the enemy is yourself, facing up to your own things. Taking accountability is a big part of mental health, and finding your way towards acceptance out of grief. These, so representing these positive signposts along the way was also something that I wanted to put in the songs, especially in Nemesis Friend of Mine. Anybody who's gone through the 5 stages of grief should be able to be like, oh, there's one. Oh,
Yeah,
there's one.
exactly.
There's one. And then at the end, we get to acceptance with the main line is, I'll never go back to that Nemesis Friend of Mine.
Yeah.
So it's giving up, letting go in order to accept the future. And in that is the difficult choice that we have to make when we go through grief. It's not an easy choice. It never is. But the process is similar. And when we share that process together, it becomes easier, because then we can understand I'm not the only one. There's other people who can offer wisdom through these things, and I don't just have to go about it just what I see and perceive. That objective perspective can help make a seemingly impossible situation something that becomes manageable.
Definitely, definitely. So, Sean, I'm gonna have to ask you this question. What are your top 5 bands?
Oh, of all time,
All time, man. Let's hear it, man. I'm curious now. I'm really curious to know.
I'm gonna say number one is Led Zeppelin.
Okay, okay,
We're Well, okay, so we'll say bands from the '60s and up to now.
okay.
Okay,
60 up to now. Doesn't matter. Like I said, whatever ones you feel are feel on that list, I'd love to know. I'm interested.
yeah. I'd say Led Zeppelin. I I can listen to I
Anything
can listen
modern?
to what?
Anything modern you like these days?
Oh yeah, oh yeah, yeah. Lots of stuff I like modern. Muse, Hailstorm,
Okay,
Pretty Reckless,
okay.
21 Pilots.
Yeah, good choices. All right.
There's it took a long time for it to rub off on me, but
Yeah,
Avicii.
yeah,
Like, I started to recognize that this dude's actually got some pretty good songwriting put together. Like, I didn't like that he put everything in like a techno EDM context, just because I don't really,
yeah.
it's not the thing, but I could still hear and I want to cover some of the stuff that he produced.
That'd be kind
So
of
I'm
cool to
like,
see.
damn,
I
you
love
know?
cover songs, man. A good cover song is always good because it's always interesting to see what your perspective is and how you interpret the song to be. You know what I mean? Like it's always interesting because like Let Me Bleed did the cover of what is it? Bring Me to the Horizon's 10 Statues That Bleed Blood. I absolutely cannot get enough of that song ever. The guy lead singer of that band, Eddie, is actually on TikTok and I message him all the time here and there. When I asked him about season 2 of the show, I said, "Hey Eddie," I said, "Hey, can I use one of your songs for my intro?" And he said, "Yes." And I was losing. I was like, "Oh shit, yeah, let's go." What I was like, because like, and then he dropped that, and I was just like, "Holy shit!" I'm like, I've heard the original song, and then he came out with more of an acoustic sounding one, and I was like, "Oh no, this is dangerous." Like, I played that song on repeat for hours on end. I was just like, "Oh my god, it was so good though," because I'm a big acoustic guy. So like, Stain was big for me. Rage Against the Machine was another big one for me too. I like that style, that Tom Morello brought. He's just laying it out like
Yeah.
that. Papa Roach was a big one for me as well. Like I said, Korn was a massive one. Marilyn Manson dipped in a little bit because I did like a lot of his stuff that he brought out. Seven Dust is another big one I really enjoyed. If we go even older, go like Green Day. Green Day was always great because, like my brother's CD collection, man, I was picking through that thing, digging out some of the stuff that he had in there, and he had all them different ones. And then he was more bigger where it was like, We Are Giants and all the other like Mighty Mighty Boss Tones and stuff would kind of fall in a little bit too. So I like the Mighty Mighty Boss Tones a lot, and they fall in that category as well. So and it was great too because I was listening to yours and I'm like, dude, he sounds like somebody else. I've not put it down yet, but I'm usually pretty good at linking songs up to people like, he sounds similar to someone else, and I can, for the life of me, cannot put it on my finger. And I know I've heard your sound a little bit somewhere, but it's like, like what a lot of musicians say that, imitation is the best form of flattery. And a lot of guys borrow a lot of other people's music sounds and things like that too. Is that we explored with Alex from Alive and Stone. He's like, yeah, you borrow a lot of different things from other people, but you're paying homage to them when you're doing it because you're making it, hey, listen, I love their sound, so I want to kind of sound similar to that a little bit, and things like that too. So,
Yeah, and you want to find that balance
hmm
between paying homage and still doing it your own. My guitar teacher when I was much younger told me, um, when I was asking him about doing covers, like how, like exactly this kind of question, and he was like, I'll tell you this: everybody has walked the same music roads that you know. Everybody has walked it, but when you walk down a particular path and choose that you're going to play this particular song, only you has played it in this space and this time, because that's what music is. It's sound decorating time.
hmm
So when you choose to do it your way in that moment, nobody's ever done that before.
And see,
So
that's what I feel about the "Let Me Bleed" song, the cover he did of the
yeah,
you know what I mean? The same thing. He's right though, because think about it, it wasn't done like that originally. Their song originally was a different, and a lot of people's their sounds mature. It depends, when you like Stain, they've evolved over time. Their sound has changed a lot. Aaron Lewis's, sound changed as he started getting older and things like that too, and I think it's an interesting point of view though. I mean, is when you decide to finally do it, it'll be that's it. This is your cover of that. Which, everybody does them. These days everybody's doing them. What was it? The most recent one did the Goofy movie song, the 121 song. What is it? Magnolia Park just did the cover of that one, and they did really good with it too. So it's always interesting to see. Or the guys out of the UK, what was it? The Punk Rock Factory guys. They were doing like Disney cover songs and things like that too. So it was interesting to hear, their perspectives of songs because it was so cool to see. Like, wait a minute, this is really cool. Then they went to TV show themes and they started doing all those too and things like that too. So I'm looking forward to see what you come out with, man. I love the album so far. I've been listening to it myself here. Like I said, I play it here and it's in my play rotation now. When you make my play rotation, it means you made it there, and then I'm sharing it to everybody. Like, hey, listen, have you tried this? And I'll use the clip when I get it, like TikTok clips and things like that. They'll start adding it in there. It'll start coming up, trust me, because it's gonna start popping up really quick, and I'll be tagging them. Look, Sean, I'm using your song over here, and things like that too.
yeah,
But it's so cool though, man, because like you went from playing music to now you're making music, and it's like when people come to you and say, Sean, I really appreciate what you're doing. I love it. So, it has to be a great feeling though. It's like you're writing a song about how you're feeling, but it relates to other people because that's the thing. At the end of the day, is you're trying to touch one person's heart. And if you do that, that's it. You've already won. And you've got a mass amount of downloads over here. I'm looking at some of your songs and I'm like, people are loving what they're hearing, man. So it's great though.
yeah, thank you. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. I couldn't have said it better myself, man. I mean, yeah, like that is the mentality, and it's so great to see the reaction to it, and it's so great to see it continue on, and also knowing that this is just the beginning. We've
Yeah.
still got so much more visual marketing to do, and so many different things that we can do with it. And I just, it's very cool that nowadays, before they would say like, oh, it's the release day, and then we hope that the rest of it goes before, but after a while, it's got a shelf life and you just need to shut the hell up about it after a while. Not anymore.
No.
That's not how the world works anymore. Now, once you release it, it becomes an asset, a
hmm
long term asset. Then, when you think of it like that, like a house, how are you going to market a house? Well, you can put an Airbnb in it. You
hmm
could do a Verbo, or you can do all these different ways, put it in different contexts and different lights that make it something that can do something for you economically, but also that's so much more powerful that when you're writing it, it becomes that bastion of what it is.
Yeah.
And everything that you put into it, when it translates and other people see it and hear it, I mean, that's when I know that I truly succeeded. So all of the rest of it is just, you know, cherry and whipped cream on top of the sundae. But the sundae is when the ice cream of it really is when I make that connection,
Yeah.
and when people see it and feel it, then I know that I succeeded.
Yeah, no, I feel that too. Nowadays things are way differently. I like the way people do it now though. They release it song by song versus like, well, here's the album, just drop it on you. They're just kind of giving you a little taste of it. Like, hey, listen, this is what's coming. And you're like, well, fuck, I want more of this now. So now you're waiting
Truly.
for the next song to come out. So I like how music evolved though, because now there's so many different places to find it. You be on TikTok and these other, everybody cringes when they hear TikTok, but I'm like, dude, you don't understand. TikTok is a marketing tool like crazy. These guys on there use your sound and people are hearing it, it's over. That's it. Like people start
Yes.
playing it and everything else, and then you can share it different ways, the whole different ways. Hell, I didn't even know Spotify you could share music amongst each other until the other day when I figured that out. I was like, sweet, here we go. Let's start sending songs back and forth to each other. And it's pretty cool nowadays because I could send it out to people like, hey, listen, check this out. Or I like to make mental health playlists for people and just add different songs in there for people to tell them how I'm feeling because like I said, music is just a big thing for me. I'm always constantly listening to something or listening to a podcast or something like that. But most of the time, usually it's music. I'm turning music on. I'm at work working on something. I'm in the back doing something. And a friend of mine, she likes the cooler concert series. I'll send her snaps where I'm singing the songs of other people. And she's just laughing at me the whole time. She's like, this is the greatest thing ever I've seen in my life. I'm like, dude, I just love music. I'm like, I listen to it all. Like I said, latest rotations. The quarantine is made into the rotation. Let Me Bleed is in there. Life's Lost is there now. The new what is it? The Alone in the Dark by Moshless and White is in there now. I like Swaco is in there now too. His new song, he's got a really good one too. Enemy, and then the other one he did for the Scream 7 soundtrack is really good. So like I mix up my stuff, but I go back to like Tonic. Oh God, I love Tonic. Goo Goo Dolls are one of my favorites of all time. And it shocked people when I tell them that. I'm like, dude, I love the Goo Goo Dolls. John Rensick, the way he wrote songs is just great. So I was looking, I'm like, okay, here's the test for Sean's band. How good can his slow song sound? And I went down the line to one of the lesser ones that's a slower jam. I was like, oh, that's it. That's it. Sean's in the list now. Because like if you can nail that, like, because I love Cold. Cold had a lot of real soft songs, but that's just how they
Yeah.
built up and things like that. And to me, it's like if you can go both ends of the spectrum, you've already won me there. And then the acoustic is really where I'm at. Like I like acoustic Bush and all these other kind of stuff. And it's always, all these different bands that you hear all the time is great because then I can share it with my kids and they're like, oh, what are you listening to? Because now my music's considered the oldies now. And I'm like, it still makes me laugh. And I'm like, I'm always discovering new bands no matter where I'm at. I'm always on TikTok and stuff. And that's where I find a lot of new bands. And that's how I met Alex from Alive and Stone. Tanis from Life's Lost has been on the show as well. Lucy Lenore from Haunter, she came on as well. I met her through Instagram and things. And I'm always constantly looking for new stuff. So like when the email came through for like, hey, listen, I got this guy you got to meet. Sean is in the band, The Quarantine. I instantly go and check it out because I'm like, I got to listen to this, see if it's something I like or not. And I loved it, man. Like I said, I'm a big pop punk guy. Punk falls in the category, rock falls in it, metal falls in all the categories. You're hitting all the notes of everything I want, man. So I'm ready to see what else comes out down the road too, man. It's cool too because then I can say, hey, I had this guy on my show, which I can say for a lot of people have had on this show. It's really cool though. I get to meet the person behind the music because you don't really get those opportunities ever, man. So it's so cool that you're here though because you get to hear the inspiration behind it. So which is leading me to this question, though. So normally I wait to ask this question, Sean, but I want to ask you now and see what your opinion is. Okay. So if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now, when I ask you this question, I'm asking you from the sense of like something you're tired of hearing people say. What would you say that one thing is you want people to stop believing?
I would say that that PTSD is based around fear. The classic joke is that, oh, you scared the shit out of me, I'm gonna get PTSD from that. You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I've heard everybody do it, like celebrity. I've even done it myself because I knew that the joke would hit. However, it is entirely incorrect. PTSD is not about fear. PTSD is about your nervous system going off. And one of the things that it can take you to is fear. That's just one of the 31 flavors. So it's important to recognize that concept that we have of PTSD is actually entirely incorrect. And the advocacy that we've been trying to do for it has kind of been derailed by that. So, because it's given people a false idea about what it actually is. We've gotten really far in that people understand about PTSD. And when you say PTSD, people don't go, PTSD, what? Because that was the law
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
long
because it used to
time.
be called shell shock. You're right, because
Yeah.
it used to be called shell shock. They only thought it happened only to military people. There's a whole line behind that thing. And you're right, that applies to mostly everything mental. Think about it. Narcissist comes up all the time. Oh, you're gonna, I'm going to be narcissistic. You're so narcissistic. Like, you don't even know what that word means. People throw it around. They don't even have an idea what the word means, but like we can laugh about it though. But at the same time, people think those jokes are messed up. I'm like, but really it's not. If you can't laugh at yourself, why, you know what I mean? I met a comedian named Dave Murray. And that's literally what he teaches people, how to laugh at their own mental health. Like, me and Dave made some fucked up jokes that hour, but me and Dave got it though at the same time. Like we were making jokes that we understood completely. You're like, oh, I joke about PTSD with people, but in all seriousness, like y'all got to quit this shit. It's a little annoying because you're all making jokes of it, but you don't understand what it is. It's somebody's gone through it, and I've gone through it too. I've had one of those moments. It's like it's nothing like you would think it is, and I think that's the same thing goes for a lot of mental health conditions. Like people don't know what BPD goes. Oh, that's bipolar. I'm like, no, borderline personality disorder is way different than bipolar. Trust me, by far. Saying you could apply to any of those in that same situation. But I think your message there was very strong, though, because I think you can apply it to a lot of things. Like I said, narcissist gets thrown on an awful lot. And I'm like, do you really know what a narcissistic person's like? Because you have no idea. A same thing with OCD. Like OCD, I met somebody on the show that was OCD, and I was like, it was interesting to watch because like the mannerisms you're watching them do it's different than what you would think. And the same thing with what is it? Tourette syndrome. Okay, so Tourette syndrome is an interesting one. Now, I met a gentleman who runs a podcast who's talking about his life and his journey with Tourette syndrome, but it's nothing like you would think. Like everybody thinks it's the nervous tics and things like that. Little did we know when Kevin came on, he had explained to us that only 10% of people that are diagnosed with that actually deal with those kind of tics, like the little weird mannerisms you see, like Deuce Bigelow, where the lady in the crowd sitting there yelling out weird things all of a sudden. He said only 10% of those people actually deal with those kind of things. And I thought it was interesting because it's like, everybody associates it with that one thing. Oh, no, you're going to start saying weird things. No, that's not how it works, though. It's not like that for most people. In Kevin's perspective, it was a whole different story about what he had dealt with. And Kevin was like, no, this is not what it's like. Like, you've got this all wrong. Like, we're not that 10% in there that you see on television. Because I think they were talking about, God, what is it? Some TV show where they were featuring someone that had Tourette's that had those little outbursts and had those weird little mannerisms and it's the same thing applied to everything else. Like with PTSD, it used to be called shell shock. Same thing with multiple personality disorder. Now it's dissociative identity disorder or something like that. But people like didn't really understand that one either. But if you watch Split, it's probably the best representation of it, though. You think about it because you're watching this guy. Everybody's switching the chairs, and I've met somebody that had it before, man. And Sean, it was an interesting conversation with her. Needless to say, like if you didn't know what to watch for, you didn't really notice her personality changing a little bit because it's only little tweaks. Like her mannerisms have changed. She like get real serious all of a sudden, and you're just like watching her, and it's interesting to watch. Doing this show over 300 plus interviews now of just different people I've talked to, man. It's interesting because everybody has a different perspective on how PTSD affects them and things like that as well. So I think your point there is very valid when you say that.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's bring up a very interesting thing. And that is the ubiquitous universal knowledge about psychology is not very high.
Yeah, exactly.
Across, there's not a lot of baseline information being taught at a level where it doesn't become like conspiracy theory.
Yeah, definitely.
It's like, oh, the stuff that I heard because of this one time with this guy.
Yeah.
Like it's very, very like black market knowledge. Psychology needs to start being taught at like middle school level. And we need to start giving people a basic understanding of the brain and the mind as a separate organ.
Yeah.
The same way that you would treat
I
your
think
heart
you're thinking
or
of the
anything
brain
else.
and your subconscious, really, Sean, is what you mean. The subconscious is
Yes.
a whole different thing. But I know what you mean, though. But, yeah, the subconscious is a scary place because that's where a lot of stuff happens in it, though. We've had a few people come on that are neurologists that have come on and we've talked about these things. And neuroscientists have been on and things like that. We've explored that area, too, where we were talking about your subconscious. Like, a lot of people think that everything happens in the forefront of your brain, but really the subconscious is where a lot of that shit goes on. It's a scary place, man. Like once you start digging into what the brain can do, it's scary. Because I had a conversation with a neuroscientist about negative self-talk. She was saying that they just recently discovered in the time of the interview that another part of your brain actually controls all that kind of stuff, which is fascinating to know because it's interesting to hear that because I didn't know that until I talked to her. And the fact that the conversation continued is like she didn't make you feel dumb at any point, which is great. But I think you have a great point there again with the psychology, or maybe better understanding of mental health to start explaining to some of these younger kids what they're looking at and like, hey, listen, if you start experiencing some things, you know, maybe say something to somebody so we can get you some help sooner before this thing turns into something even worse than it could have been. And I think that's the
Yes.
hard part is, with that, it's just like, people don't want to emotionally regulate these kids at a younger age, which I don't understand why. Why not teach them what these feelings are? Let them understand, hey, this is what you're feeling and give it a name. And a lot of times they say that, when kids are sexually assaulted, though, two interesting fact is that the reason you teach them how to identify their genitalia, what it is that in case they were to interview a kid, they can only interview him 3 times. Now, if they talk to him, they can't identify what that is, then they can't help them, but they can identify, they'll be better prepared. Same thing with emotional regularity would be great is if we teach them at a younger age, we don't have to teach them a lot. We just teach them enough and just start building up to them as they get older, obviously apply to what grade level we're talking to at the time, but give it some kind of thing so they understand what they're dealing with these emotions. That way, when they're adults, they have a different perspective on things like that.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that in itself, you can start to train the stigma
Hmm.
into train the stigma out of the teachings. You can
Yeah.
start treating it like a triage mentality of health, the same way that you would treat a nurse. Oh, how do you differentiate when someone says, my arm hurts behind a bruise and a broken arm? How do you discern that? That normally comes later on in high school when they're doing first aid and stuff. So the same things should apply, but they still have to know what a broken arm is at a younger age because maybe they've experienced it before. So then a medical professional will then explain to them what's going on, and that's the small little bit of exposure to medical ideas or anything having to do with that. And so if nothing happens in mental health, then that frame of reference becomes even smaller.
Hmm.
And then this is so it without us as a society building a framework to talk about mental health, and without this ick factor, and make it more of a describing and organizing description to give people a real sense of what is going on is so important. And because like you said, dealing with people with or at least just talking with people with multiple personalities, you don't recognize it's not some big major thing.
Yeah.
It's not like Jim Carrey. It's it's very much so those small things. And I have a friend who actually lives around me, and they have multiple personalities. And for me, I'm like, I've done acting training. I love doing accents. I love doing doing characters and references to old movies and stuff.
Oh, yeah,
Um,
definitely. Yeah. Yep.
and
You're right in my
I
alley,
didn't
son.
right,
Movies
right.
are
But
right there, man. Yep.
so this one of his personalities takes on a New York accent.
Okay.
And so when he did that, I started doing my New York accent, and then it contributed more to his thing. And I didn't even realize what was going on. He told me about it later, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't even know I was doing it." And he was like,
Yeah.
"No, but it was like one of those things where in the back, the other dudes were like, 'What the hell?' But the
Right.
guy in the
Exactly.
front was like, 'Yeah, dude, this dude's talking my language. He must be from where I was,' even though I just told him that I was from California. The other guy assumed,
Yeah.
oh,
That's
so
funny.
like when he was describing those mental processes to him, like that makes a lot of sense. It's not like this, it's not like this always chaotic thing. It can be, but there are different degrees to this stuff, and it's important to understand them. That way, you can give it the space to where it can be, and you don't have to you know
Yeah.
try to
Exactly.
avoid it because you can't just avoid people all the time. That's not how
Yeah. You
we
make
really
people
build
feel
a
different,
good
and
society.
yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. It's just weird. It happens though way too much. Like people I have on this show, my co-host of my side project I do, called Voice the Voiceless. She and I, when we originally met, she has schizoaffective disorder, and it gets really complex fast from there. She was like, I was on 18 medications. I'm like, hold up, 18? She's like, yeah, I was taking like 18 of these pills, and I'm like you had to be cycling side effects like the dishwasher spins, man. Like, wait, what? Hold on.
Like, I love Maddie to death. She's a real sweetheart. But when she told me that story, I was just like, what the hell is going on? And like in this show, it's been interesting because day one when I started this thing, I was like, I was wondering why people weren't having this conversation. Like where are people talking about? Like all the doctors could talk about it. Okay, cool. But where are the regular people just talking about it? Like I have no background training whatsoever. I was just a person who was generally curious when I started this, and I started my own journey. And when I went through this thing, I started booking people, and I started bringing in people, and the stories just kept getting more interesting. I was like, damn, now I'm hooked. I want to know more. And the show just kept taking off. Like in the first 2 months, I had this show booked all the way out to the end of the year of 2024 when I first started this thing, and it was crazy to see that when I hit mid-November, I'm out to July of 2025 with people. And I'm talking just a Monday, just one Monday, 10 a.m. time slot. I was doing weekly live shows on a network I was a part of, and it was just like, this is crazy how many people want to talk about this. Like, this is insane, because when I first posted it, 150 responses came in and I was losing my shit. I'm like, what? Hold on, I got to sort through all these things, And then when I implemented a digital calendar, it just went off, and I was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. So then I started getting people from all over the world, man. I've had people as far as Australia on the show, which actually one of my good friends, she runs a podcast too out there that I met, but it's been interesting. I get emails all the time from people like, oh, hey, listen, I heard this episode so and so. So people are listening to this, they want this, and it's just been crazy, man. But the opportunities that just keep coming. We just hosted the author Gemma Correll here a few weeks ago. She is like 1 million followers. She just wrote a book about anxiety called Anxiety Land, where she had wrote her own story, but she did it in a cartoonist way that she does it and her own style. It was really interesting because she like pictures everything, how everything is, you're experiencing things like that. It was really cool, So like this show is taken off since day one, man. So like it's been pretty crazy to see how many people want to talk about this because that was the goal originally. And then the stories you hear of these people sharing their stories on the internet is just, it's horrible. Like Maddie was like, they were telling Maddie, go to the mental hospital, go, you're crazy. And she's like, newsflash, I've already done all these things, guys. Too late. You're already telling me things I already know. And I'm just like, oh God. And then this past season we just wrapped up, I had this woman come on the show and told me she was sexually assaulted. And then people were making fun of her. So in this interview, I turn to the camera for 5 minutes and I go off. I'm like, this is some fucking horseshit. I'm just going mad. I'm like, I'm pissed. I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you people? Why are you picking on this woman and making fun of her for being assaulted? She didn't ask to be raped or any of these other things that happened. Nothing she asked for these things. You know what I mean? So the conversation has just gotten out of hand with these things, but I feel like the internet can be our friend and be our enemy at the same time. I feel like too many people don't use it for the right thing. Like we could have such a bigger impact on mental health instead of allowing these things to happen. If you think about all these school shootings, think about the first thing they say is, what was he posting online? Well, he was posting these crazy comments and okay, so then why aren't you policing your site? Facebook's response, well, they don't want to do it. But then recently they've had to now start policing their own site. I'm like, well, it's about time you start doing something, because if they're posting these very disturbing posts, let's get these people some help before something like this unfortunately happens. All these things that happen, we could have possibly prevented, possibly, I say, because we don't know if we could have. But, just like this, a lot of this stuff goes back to they're posting really interesting things on Facebook about these things that they're saying, these wild statements. Or, they're going on TikTok and you got people on TikTok, they're sharing information that God needs to stop talking, please, and stop sharing things. You know what I mean? It's just scary, man. It really is out there.
Absolutely. And you bring up a very good point. There's got to be a way to categorize and have the response reflect the result that you want.
Exactly.
We do this in just about everything else. If we hear of from a 911 call and they say the reason why they don't ask you who you are is not the first question they ask. They ask, what's your emergency? Because it's getting directly to the point of the reason why you're calling them.
Exactly.
Right. So we need to start having that kind of the people, personnel, and response to those kinds of situations to start bringing reality in when it's obviously being demonstrated that it hasn't sunk in yet, and giving people not a you're this punishment, but this is what you're saying. This is what it's the things that we have to say about what it is. Let's start figuring out the language so we can start describing why you feel the way that you feel.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that way you can start leading them to the points, because sometimes they're only half wrong. Sometimes, like, and the other half is taking over entirely, so they're not able to understand, about, you know, more difficult parts of our world, like where the Federal Reserve Bank came from.
Right.
It's a real conversation. It's a difficult conversation. It's wild with conspiracies the whole time.
Yeah.
Depending on how you view the world is how you
Exactly.
come out the other end of that.
Exactly.
But once you get reality into it and you understand that now we can see its function in today's society, and that we can identify it as the Federal Reserve Bank. And you may or may not agree with it, but understanding it is the first step in being able to do anything with it at all. And this very much applies to the things that we think. And so if we can start giving people the language on how to talk about mental health, we can start improving the
Exactly.
overall aspect of metacognition on our society. That
Exactly.
means us thinking about how we're thinking actively in the moment. And when we can start doing that as a society, because we can start building that in ourselves, but it would be so much better to have institutions helping us to generate that critical thinking mass. And if we can do that, then we will inevitably become a better society because of it. All because we reached down to the people who needed the most help and said, we can do that. We can
Yeah.
help them.
Yeah, I've had people reach out to and things like that as well. I had a guy this morning. Was posting some very disturbing videos, and I was just like, it wasn't like anything that you like super disturbing, but it's like the language he was using that worried me. And I was like, hey, I was talking to a friend of mine. I said, I feel like this guy may end up trying to kill himself. I'm like, he's talking like that, and lo and behold. Literally what he was saying, and it's because all these interviews I've done in the show, I've learned how to identify these things from all these different professionals and people that come on and say things. I'm always constantly learning these new things. And that's the whole point behind the show, is to try and teach people some of that lingo of like what to do in these situations. Like if someone were to reach out to you and start talking in these very weird to behave, doing something weird out of the ordinary, that you're thinking, okay, what to do in those situations. Like most people don't know what to do. If someone said, come to you and start saying they thought about committing suicide, and it's like they get nervous, and it's like, don't panic. I mean, like, they're talking to you. You should understand that this is a great thing. If they're talking to you, you're all right. You're already winning the battle there, because a lot of them won't even talk to you. And us as men, we don't talk about it. So I agree, though. I think it's we need to start teaching these guys what to look out for, and things like that too. Teach them the language, at least give them some help. Like someone take advantage of the internet as it is and start posting these things like I do. And like I post as much as I can. There's other mental podcasts or starting podcasts because of me that want to get into the conversation. And I told, and like, I have no formal training. So it's like, if I can do it, hell, anybody can do it at this point. All I'm doing is having a conversation with people. I'm inviting other people on to have other conversations, inviting musicians like yourself, other experts that come on and they share their thoughts on in different things and their opinions and all these other kind of things. Hell, we had John Dukakis from CNN come on here and was talking to us as well. It was really cool, man. We've had some really interesting characters come on here to talk to us about this stuff. And it's interesting because the message just keeps getting louder that we need to talk more about it. Clearly, my schedule's in filled all the way out to August now with people waiting to talk to me just for no damn reason. And I'm talking, when I say that, I'm saying like Mondays and Tuesdays, 3 to 4 people a day on those days. So I'm going from 6 to 10 conversations in those 2 days of just recording this show of people that want to talk about these things. So like we need to talk more about it, and especially with the youth. I think like the youth is where our biggest fall is at right now. We need to start talking to them younger and let them know like, hey, you're okay. And it's okay not to be okay. If there's something wrong, to say something that we know, so we can start turning the number around, because 10 to 14, Sean, is the new highest rate for suicide in young men. It was delayed early this year. I found out. I was hearing the numbers. I was listening to the news. They were talking about from 10 to 14. That's way too young for those kids to be taking themselves and taking their lives at that young of age, man. Like there's no reason for that kind of thing, for us not to do something or think something's wrong at that point. Like, don't get me wrong, all lives matter, but 10 to 14 is a little too young for us to be really losing too many young gentlemen at that young age for that reason. We and a few other podcasters explored social media, and we looked at the statistics, and it's not great for kids their age. A lot of people like to make fun of the helicopter parents, but I applaud the helicopter parents at this point because you're watching what they're getting into and keeping a monitor of what they're doing is you're doing the best thing as possible for them because now you can try and catch it ahead of time if they start saying something or start doing something, start acting different, because I want to see that number go down, not go up because this is getting insane. 177,000 people lost a year is just too many. I don't care what anybody says. Like, that's way too many not to be having this conversation about what more can we do at this point. It's people like yourself that are making this music that are hitting home, and all these other guys are doing stuff, man. So I appreciate you coming and having this conversation, Sean. But we are at that part of the interview where we're gonna ask you that fun question I was gonna ask you. Okay, Sean, this is gonna be good one. You're like this one, okay? So if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be, Sean? Everybody loves this question, by the way, because it's so interesting the answers you get from people.
Okay, so this one's going to sound a little weird, but I
Okay.
know exactly the song. When you said it, I know exactly the way to represent it. And it's going to be Buried Alive by Avenged Sevenfold.
Okay.
And the reason why is because that song represents the feeling that you're constantly fighting against, which is the soft give up. All you have to do is just stop. And then it's so easy. It's so, like, it sounds so nice to just stop trying anymore, to stop caring, to stop trying to make yourself better. You can rest. You can finally be at peace. But that offer is so, it's just a trick because it's inevitably, it makes it worse in the end. And you have to constantly be striving for something. And so that feeling of being buried alive and being sent to a pit that you'll never come out of. That's exactly what it feels like I'm fighting against all the time. So whenever I hear that song, I smile because I know.
Yeah, and it's
what I
a
made
great
it out
song.
of.
It's a great song choice. Avenged Sevenfold is the first time being mentioned in this conversation because I recently started asking people this question for this season, the season before. I met somebody else who's another podcaster. She runs the shit that goes on in our heads. She's a good friend of mine. She asked me the same question. So I answered it differently than the original. But my song now for my anxiety, I said, was Bad Omens' Artificial Suicide. That constant strumming of that song is, that's how it feels. When my anxiety's full blown, dude, my heart is racing just like that. It's going 1,000 miles an hour. And then my depression song was two, actually. It was Leave the Light On, Tuck Away the Dark by Papa Roach. And the other one is A Different Kind of Pain by Cold. Now, I felt like both of those represented it because that's what it's like. People that don't understand what depression is like. Jim Carrey actually released a video of an interview recently that someone had told where Jim had discussed depression. He said it was two ways. It was like, there's a difference between sad and being depressed. Jim says that being sad is you just being down that day. He said being depressed is you telling yourself that you don't want to be that character today, even though you have to be, which I think is a great representation of what depression is like for people that never have experienced it, because everybody wants to say, oh, cheer up, or hey, calm down. It's easy for you to give that advice if you've never been in that situation. But if you've been in that situation, I approach it from a different situation. And we know ourselves who's been through it and who hasn't been, because you'll know the lingo they're using. Just like you said, the way people talk about things, it makes a difference because you can tell, that like level of understanding there. So, with that being said, though, it just made sense. So I think what Jim said was amazing because it broke it down so well. I was like, that's great. Because when you said Jim Carrey, I laughed because Jim Carrey's actually a big mental health advocate as well. I found out.
Right, he is.
Jim's
and
great.
When I mean that, I mean the Dumb and Dumber or Ace Ventura or
right?
That kind of thing.
Sean, with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete for Exciting, man. I was so honored to have you here, man. It was great hanging out with you. Before we go, do you want to plug where everybody can find you? Do you guys have socials for the quarantine and everything else that you want to plug and let them know where to check you out? Obviously, you're on Spotify because that's where I've been checking you out.
Yes. Yeah, you can find us at thequarantined.com. All social medias at The Quarantined. YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. Facebook.
You're on TikTok. Okay. I'll make sure to follow you on TikTok as well so I can spread you out to everybody too and everything like that. Guys, anybody that's listening at home, I'll make sure obviously to put them in there so everyone knows where to find Sean on all the socials and things like that. And Sean, thank you so much, man. I'm looking forward to see what's coming down the road. And listen, if somebody mentions one of your songs, you better believe the first person I'm reaching out to is like, Sean, in bold letters, man, you're never going to believe what came up is going to be right in the first line email. You're like, oh shit, somebody mentioned this, didn't they? Because I'll start laughing. I'm like, you know what? I actually met Sean. He's been in the studio. Let me go let him know right now that you mentioned his song here in this show.
Hell yeah, that'd be great. I'd love to see how far it goes. Yeah,
Hell yeah,
absolutely.
definitely, man. Well, Sean, with that being said, thank you so much again for being here, man. I really appreciate it. Before I start signing off, do you have anything you want to say to everybody? Any last words of encouragement to everyone out there?
Yeah, I'll say the thing that I've learned in all of trying to get through suicidal feelings and dealing with PTSD, and when I was at my very, very lowest, it was pointed out to me that two things that I'm usually missing are perspective, wanting to see it from some other place, and then gratitude, at least if only for yourself, because it is very possible you are surrounded by assholes, and the gratitude that you need to give is to yourself. It's very important to remember those kinds of things, and that way you can still find the answer within yourself when you know those things, when you're at your lowest. So that's my little.
Love it. I love it,
sign
Sean.
off.
Thank you so much again, guys. And with that being said, we're going to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You guys know where to find me on Pete vs. Anxiety and X, all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify, all the way down to Pandora Radio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can say something for hell. You can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety, signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?